Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where I thought it was about high time we took a proper look at the SRU Type 2 tactical helmet. So the SRU Type 2 of course is the second generation in SRU's tactical helmet development series. The Mark 1 was an all-in-one affair, if you like. It came with a bump helmet already installed and all of SRU's gear and gubbins, if you like, wrapped in around the entirety of the helmet. The Type 2 takes a slightly different approach. It assumes you already have a bump helmet pre-existing. Perhaps you've customized it to your liking, it fits perfectly, it balances, it's got all of your extra gumph on it, whether it be a light node and all that kind of wizardry. And essentially they look to provide you with the front face protection of that setup. Much akin to a Die 5, for example, this wraps around from ear to ear, encompassing the entirety of the face and obviously the lower jaw line as well. So essentially what you get here is a cheaper option for upgrading an existing bump helmet into an SRU product. Is it any good? Absolutely it is. It's a wonderful piece of kit. When it arrives in the box, you'll see that it is in a couple of different parts. Essentially where you can see these Allen headed screws here, you have to screw these parts together to form the entirety of the shell here. This then pushes back onto your bump helmet and locks into place. It's not a complicated system. It's not a complicated thing to put together. Could it have used some instructions from SRU? Absolutely it could. You do spend a few minutes sort of piecing it together like a jigsaw puzzle, working out what you need to put where to fit your particular helmet. But once it is all together, it slides on. There's a good amount of resistance as it goes on, so you know it's firmly in place. And then, like I say, once you lock it into place at the back here and put those final screws in, this thing ain't coming off for love nor money. So slightly cheaper than the Mark 1, obviously, because there is less of it. Does it represent good value for money? Yes, on the whole, I think it does. Essentially, what you're getting, as I've already said, is something akin to a Die i5. Certainly in terms of the raw essentials here. The benefit being that it attaches to your existing bump helmet, whereas the Die i5, you're going to have to try and wrestle in underneath. It's not going to look quite right. It won't fit quite right, or whatever the case may be. This, like I say, you've got your bump helmet, you tailor make it to your size. So if you consider, if you were buying this for a loved one or buying this for perhaps your child to play Airsoft with you, you want to present them with something a little bit cooler to take onto the Airsoft field, but still offer them all of the protection that you want them to have, then if they have a bump helmet already, sort of pre-made for them, all the extra padding put in so they know it fits them perfectly, then you slide this on the front of it, Bob's your uncle, you've got yourself a tailor-made helmet. With regards to what protection it actually offers, obviously the same as the Mark 1, these visors are actually ballistically proven to some degree. They will take up to, I think, about 700 FPS point blank. So you're never going to have any trouble with these. You don't have to worry about your son or daughter's eye protection or your own. And it's got a great level of visibility because unlike a lot of other helmets that you can purchase, certainly from Amazon or eBay or anything like that, A, you don't know the quality of the lenses, and B, they're usually sort of like tailor-made to look like a skull or something like that. And visibility is quite poor through them. You almost get like a tunnel vision effect. These, of course, have a more wrap-around visor, which takes in a lot of peripheral section. So they've got a good level of view. They never feel sort of constrained by what they can see or anything. Or I keep saying they. I'm talking as if we're buying this for a child. This is for you, and you know it's for you. But like I say, yeah, great visibility. It never fogs up. I know it's got pre-built-in fans, but I've maybe used them twice so far, just in a quick burst, just to clear some fog that was forming on the peripheral section of the visor. I think that's down to the fact that we have a good gap between where your nose and face actually sits and the front of the mask. So there's quite a good level of airflow that escapes from underneath anyway. It's not tight to your face. And yeah, like I say, I've barely used the fans at all. When I have, they've been super quiet, super silent, and very, very functional indeed. It cleared the side fog in a matter of seconds. So all in all, a great little setup. With regard to the visor as well, like the Mark 1, we get the flip-up visor. It's actually slightly nicer produced. If you remember the Mark 1 review we did, and if you don't, I'll put a link up above now. In the Mark 1, we talked about how it needed some wearing in. The fit and finish of the visor to the rest of the mask seemed quite tight, and even once you depressed the button, it wasn't springing up. You had to sort of give it a tap from inside just to push it out. With a bit of wear and tear, it does scale down, but I'm pleased to report that straight out of the box, this one works. No wearing and tearing needed of any kind. Obviously that just allows you to eat, drink, converse with your fellow players in the safe zone, anything like that, without needing to remove the helmet every time. Like I say, all in all, I'm very impressed with it. Does it represent great value for money? It represents good value for money, especially if you have an existing bump helmet and a setup that you're happy with, the balance, the comfort of, etc. Yes. Get this over the Mark 1 because you're just essentially buying a whole new helmet for no reason. If, however, you don't have a helmet and you have to buy one, like I say, you can go to as much or as little cost as you feel is fair. But it does affect the value of money that you're getting for the whole setup, because if you're going to that extent, the Mark 1 isn't that much more expensive, and certainly if you look at the alternatives, which might be a Dye i5 offering the same sort of ear-to-ear protection, then the Dye i5 is perhaps better value for money because it offers a slightly more engaging game style, if that makes any sense. And for that to make sense, we'll have to talk about it. So essentially the Mark 1 has a much thicker jawline. This is a much more narrow profile, and my hope was that with much less material down here, I might stand a better chance of getting a cheek weld to look down optics. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We are still quite protruding in this sort of higher cheek area. You do feel like you're hunkered ever so slightly more down on your optics than the previous Mark 1. But it's not enough to actually make those optics highly usable. The only optic I've actually found that makes total sense with this helmet is actually on my Wolverine currently. And that is the hammer optic you see here with the red dot on the top. And that's purely because the red dot is at the perfect height that even with the helmet I can look through it. As for the sort of zoomed optic section, that is still difficult to negligible to impossible to look down. But yeah, so these helmets, whether it's the Mark 1 or the Mark 2, are not fantastic when it comes to looking down optics. This is much more a setup for someone A, who's looking to cosplay, or B, that sort of generic space marine look, and B, maybe just looking for something to take into either a CQB area, where, to be honest, it offers so much great protection. It's a very valid option. You've still got all that visibility. You've got the extra protection should you get shot in the face. And in CQB, you're unlikely to be using optics anyway for these sort of close quarter engagements. Or if you were using an LMG and you don't need to hunker down on sights at all, you just sort of spray from the hip. Makes total sense there because you're going to look cool doing it. All in all, is it an upgrade to the Mark 1? Probably not, if I'm honest. It's a great alternative to the Mark 1, like I say, especially if you have a pre-existing bump helmet or you have some size issues, whether you've got a really big head or a really small head. If you're, like I say, buying this for your child or something like that, this makes more sense for those sort of outlying issues. But yeah, a great little system, doesn't fog up at all, offers great protection. Only downside is you still can't hunker down on those optics with it. But yeah. Right, that's been my proper look at the SRU Type 2 tactical helmet. If it's been of any help to you in a future purchase, or if you've just enjoyed my nonsensical ramblings, then as always, a like and a subscribe is always welcome, guys. And I'll see you in the next one.